Yo, what is going on, guys? It is midnight bringing you another video, and in today's video it is going to be, as promised, the unit tier list, explaining why the units are placed in what position, when they'll move up, when they'll move down, if they ever do at least, how long they'll be staying where they are pretty much, so that you guys can kind of decide whether they're worth investing in or whether they're a skip in a way. So without further ado, we'll just kind of get straight into things because I don't want another 28 minute video again, or 30 minutes. So we'll get this over and done with. So we'll start with the bottom. So Cocytus, he will stay the worst character, or like opinionated worst character in the game forever. Like, I don't think they're ever going to add a character worse than him. The closest one is a Clementine that will come out. She's pretty bad, but besides from that, I don't think there's any other character that competes for worst character in the game. Cocytus is always sitting down low. At the moment, he's not a bad unit, but he's just, there's nothing that's good about him. He's got a decent damage. His speed is shocking. His HP is meh, and his defense is also meh. So considering he hasn't got a lot of speed, so he's always attacking last, unless you put an insane speed relic on him, he's just never going to get that damage that you need when you need it, and he's always going to be dying so quick because they're going to attack him before he can attack them. His skills in general, they're just okay. They're a bit costly for what they do. They're kind of they're just single target skills, so you know, it's just he needs more. He needs more to him. He doesn't really have anything amazing about him. His attack stat is okay at the moment, and then when more units come out, he just gets worse and worse and worse. So that's why he's staying in C tier, and he'll stay there for the rest of his life. Cerberus is exactly the same thing, although you could possibly pop in B tier right now, but in my opinion, I still think he's C tier. Just in general, he's a good tank at the minute because there's no other tanks that are 5-star. But his stats are just okay. His skill set just isn't really good for a tank. Like, his taunt is just, let me just quickly get it up. His taunt is just, there's nothing amazing about it, and it's not really the best taunt in the game. It's probably the worst one. You get 20% damage reduced, which is okay, I guess, but 125 revoke, which means he's not even guaranteed the taunt more often than not. Granted, it is 4 turns, which is pretty dope. His 2 skills in general, like this one here, 5 MP, is really expensive. 3 MP, that's not bad, but again, like as a tank, you really only care about this taunt. And later on, as more units come out, he's just weaker and weaker. Like, his HP is okay, and everything else is meh. His defense is really good at the moment. So yeah, he's going to stay like that for a while. He's going to stay in that tier, and when more tanks come out, they'll improve over him. Shao tier will stay in B tier for a while, but will drop. Actually, saying that, the while is over. Shao tier will probably drop down to C tier sooner rather than later. Probably when more paralysis units come out, because she loses all her value for that. Her stats are like meh, but the main thing that keeps her in this at the moment is the fact that she's got paralysis, which is pretty good. It's kind of like Aura's Petrify. Like, that's why those two are kind of in the low B tier section. Aura has dropped because of the new Aura, so Petrify loses its value from that unit because you got one that can do that and more. Shao tier, there's not really anyone else that does paralysis at the moment, but when another unit does come out with paralysis that is actually better, that isn't Neuronist, she'll probably drop down. So yeah, again, she'll stay in B tier, but she will drop once more units with paralysis come out, and just more units in general, because her stats are really not that good to compete against the newer ones that come out. Aura is exactly the same thing, however, it's Petrify. So the reason why she's dropped down from an A tier to a B tier is because of the new Aura that come out with the Petrify, and also the insane single damage target that it does. This Aura was only in A tier because of the Petrify skill, but now that other people can do that and provide more value out of it, there's just not really a use for her anymore. Granted, if you got her, she's still pretty okay, but Petrify is just meh at the moment. Like, it's not even amazing. So yeah, like, she dropped down a bit from that. Neuronist is in B tier and will probably stay in B tier for a long time, possibly even drop a tier down. She's only really good for raids, and that's a question mark as well. Like farming, she's really bad. Chaos Field at the moment, I guess she could kind of be useful, but more units are going to come out and she's just going to drop and drop and drop. The only real thing that's decent about her, besides from the fact that she's got quite a versatile skill set when it comes to poison, dark damage, and humanoid killing and stuff like that, is she has that skill that has a chance to paralysis and sealing. So when more units again come out with that sort of stuff, like you've got Eins above, who can seal the target, which is much better. And like just in general, like the Masked Irons, by the way, like the unit, that's an expensive skill to pay for a dice roll, basically. So yeah, like Neuronist will probably drop down a tier once more units again come out, and you're gonna hear this a lot from like a lot of things, but it will be a long time before Neuronist drops. But regardless, it's still pretty low tier, so I wouldn't really summon for it anyway. Aura and Shoutir are probably going to drop in the next coming banners, assuming that they're decent units. Demiurge is the next one, and he will probably go to the top of B tier soon. Quite simply because he's a really good single target damage dealer at the moment. Again, just like all the other units in this list, they're gonna drop. This unit will probably drop a little bit slower than the other three because his single target damage is really good for what he's meant to do. And he's one of the very few red units that can actually deal good damage for single target that we'll get for a while. So he's gonna stay in B tier for quite a while, but eventually he will drop and he'll be like top end C tier, like top end of the bottom. Regardless, he's still a pretty good unit. I wouldn't recommend summoning for him in particular, but he will last you quite a while in the low to mid tier. So yeah, that's where he stays there. Albedo, she's gonna drop pretty soon, I would say. Like, if anything, she'll probably drop to the lower end of B tier because farming at the moment is still really useful, and like the AoE attack that she has is pretty decent. It just costs a lot. But Albedo will probably drop because there's going to be, like, as we can tell already, we've got Eins, we've got Nazeri, Mare, we've got Evil Eye, we've got Masked Eins. All of these guys do AoE, but slightly better than, if not quite far better than Albedo. So once maybe one or two more AoE units come out that are actually good, again, Albedo's going to drop down to a C tier. But she's going to be like Demiurge. She's going to be like on the high end of things because even if you don't use her for that AoE attack, you can use her for the AoE debuff if you're playing with people that you know or solo. And as well as you can buff your team, so it's meh in a way. So she's probably going to drop down to low B tier, high C tier pretty soon once a few more AoE units come out. So just a quick recap, Cocytus, Cerberus are going to stay low tier because they're just never going to improve. Shoutir and Aura are going to drop down very soon. Neuronist will stay there for a while. Demiurge will stay there for a while. Albedo will stay in B tier for a while, but she'll drop behind the other two. Masked Irons, again, is another one that's going to stay in that tier for quite a while. The only reason why he's not higher is because of the regular Irons that we have at the moment, but he is pretty much like a tankier version of that Irons, but we prefer damage. He's got a nice AoE attack with the fact that it can seal AoE so that they can't use their skills, which is really good. So he's really good for farming, and he's kind of good for, I guess you could say, endgame content if you don't have the Irons already, the OG one. So he's going to stay in A tier for a while once again, once a few more AoE units come out. Not as many as Albedo needs to drop, but like quite a few will be needed to drop him down because he's still got really good stats in general. But Masked Irons is overall a well-balanced unit, pretty good. He will stay there for a while and last you for quite a time. Lakios will stay in A tier and is still in A tier now on the JP tier list, and will probably stay there for quite a while because of how versatile she is. She can do damage, she can heal, she can buff your team. She's really good for raids. So when raids come out, she's going to be very good for that, to get in a high amount of damage that you need. She can also be used in Chaos Field pretty well. if you don't have a really good healer, or if you don't have someone on your team that's decent at buffing, especially if you've got physical attackers, that'd be great. So yeah, Latios will stay in that tier. Very good unit to kind of invest in my opinion. Like, she's going to last you a long time, and when raids come out, she's going to be like S tier, possibly not really SS tier, but she's going to be like S tier when raids come out. Like, I'm not saying she's going to move up to S tier, but like when raids come out, if there was a tier list for like raid units, she would be like S tier. So very good unit to have in general. Overall, pretty good. Nazeri Mare will drop down to a B tier, or possibly even low A tier. He's going to stay there for a long time. With him, he's got a very costly AoE attack. So when a few more AoE units come, he'll drop, as well as the fact that his healing is not very that good. Amazing. So when a new healing unit comes out, again, will probably drop. His stats are pretty good, but besides from that, his skills are really bad, and they're going to be easily covered. Like, if you're choosing AoE units, I would rather have Irons, Masked Irons, and Evil Eye over this Mare. If you're choosing healing, I would rather the other Mare. I would even rather have Latios in that department over the healing. The stats are good. That's about it, right? And a single target skill is pretty decent, but she's got a versatile kit, but it's just too expensive for what you get out of it. So Mare will drop down to B tier. Again, not really a unit I would kind of invest in at the moment. The only units I would invest in at the moment that we've spoken about is Latios, and if you really want Masked Irons, but if you have the OG Irons, then don't even worry about it. But Latios is the only one I'd invest in at the moment. Pandora stays A tier and will be for a very long time. He's in A tier right now in JP still. Same as Latios. He's just really good. He's a buffer, and he has a cost-free buff skill, which is really good for how much it costs. And you don't get many buffers as good as Pandora that can kind of buff the team and debuff the enemy team AoE. So he stays in A tier for that simply alone. But if there was ever a time that another unit would come out that's really good for this sort of stuff, he would probably drop because his stats are really low. But at the moment, he stays in A tier for up until what we're at now in JP, which is over a year and almost a half. So yeah, another unit that I would probably invest in. Is going to last you a long time. Anything A tier or above, I would basically like invest in, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, another really good unit. He sits a bit higher up than Latios, so not too much higher up on the A tier list on JP. But yeah, overall, he's pretty good unit. Pretty well balanced as well. Like when it comes to buff and debuff, like they're both very good skills to use. Mare is A tier and will stay this way very long. However, has recently dropped down to a B tier. The only reason why this Mare sits in A tier is because it has an AoE healing skill, which is one of a kind up until now on JP. They've added a new unit. But the stats on this Mare are the worst in the game that are 5-star. So it was only a matter of time before it was going to drop down. This Mare is going to drop to a B tier. However, I would still say this unit is worth investing in because we're not going to get a better healer for quite a while. And not only that, but this unit, even if you do get a better healer, if you decide to have AoE heals, this unit is going to be A tier for a very long time. It's only recently just dropped down to a B tier, right? And this is like one of the standard units that you start off with. The only reason why it drops down is because a new unit came out with AoE healing, so it loses that value of being one of a kind. And the stats on this unit are just not even worthy of A tier. That AoE heal is saving this Mare in that tier for a long time. I would still say it's worth investing in because, like I said before, we're not going to get a healer for a very long time. That's better than this Mare. So yeah, I would still invest in this unit. It's pretty good. Maybe get it to level 90 would be great. If you can get it to level 100 and that's not really going to affect you, then by all means do so, because there's not many green units that are going to be coming out in the near future that are going to be really good. So yeah, Mare, pretty decent overall. Now we get to S tier. Now Evil Eye is S tier at the moment and will drop down to A tier, but it will take a very long time for that to happen, as well as Irons, but I'll get to Irons in a moment. Now Evil Eye is basically like a crappier version of Irons. The only thing that Evil Eye has over the top of Irons is the fact that her AoE costs 5 MP rather than 6, but stat wise and just skill damage, all of that stuff is worse than Ainz. Not much, but it is worse than Ainz. So this unit will stay in S tier. The only reason why it will drop down to an A tier is because this 5 MP cost AoE is going to be pretty consistent with most of the units that come out. Like almost every unit will have that, or a 4 AoE, or even a 3 AoE attack, which is later on, like really later on. That's like the Nazeri Ainz. So yeah, she's going to stay in S tier. She will drop down to an A tier eventually. However, I still don't hold this against you for leveling up and investing in this unit, because this unit in the moment is going to last you a very, very long time, and overall is just still a pretty good unit. So yeah, I would still invest in this unit if you have it, but it will take a very, very long time for it to drop down to an A tier. However, for the time being, it will stay in an S tier column. Now, Ainz is exactly the same as Evil Eye. It will stay in S tier for a very, very long time. The only reason why it will drop is because more units will do what Ainz does, but better. However, his stats, when it comes to like damage, for example, and speed and stuff like that, he's got very, very good stats. Like probably S tier stats, but his skills will slowly drop down to an A tier and weigh him down. But overall, the Ainz is still really good. This is definitely one of the best units to invest in at the moment. There's one unit that's better, as you can already tell. But this Ainz is 100% you invest in this unit. Like if you have it, it's amazing. It's going to last you for anything. It's good for raids, Chaos Field, farming. Evil Eye is really only good for farming. Can be good for Chaos Field slightly, not amazing. And raids are just not really her thing. So I would invest in Ainz. And last but not least is Nazeri Aura. Now, many people are going to be like, this is an SS tier unit in JP. Why is it only S in global? And it's quite simple, really, because there's not really any other units to go in SS tier. There's no reason to make a tier just for one unit in particular. It's just, there's no point. Like, if anything, we would make an SS tier and then chuck her and Ainz up there, but there's no reason to do that. We might as well just keep it like this. Nazeri Aura will stay S tier until probably a year time, or when we get many units, like, yeah, probably about a year, and then it will go up to an SS tier and will stay there for the rest of the time until we get another good single target attacker. Now, the reason why this unit will only go up after a long amount of time is because we need more units to kind of fill the spaces in S tier and all the other tiers. So then Nazeri Aura will stand out more and get the SS tier that she deserves at the moment. The other reason why is if we get one of the SS tier units such as Entema or Nazeri Ainz come out, then we'll also jump up because we'll put the two of them in that tier. Now, to reach SS tier, for example, because a lot of people are confused about that, SS tier is the best. Those are the units that are the best for a certain category. Now, this aura is the best single target damage dealer up until now on JP, until you get Shizu. Shizu has the potential to out damage this Nazeri Aura, but it's not guaranteed, so we can't really put Shizu up in SS tier and replace Aura because it's not consistent enough. But yeah, like this single target damage dealer is insane. Like you do 2 times attacks for 4 MP of like 130% damage, which is insane. The other SS tiers that will come out is Nazeri Ainz. He's just the best unit in everything that he does. Stats, damage, AoE, everything. He's the best for it. Debuffs, pretty much everything, right? And the other SS tier, in my opinion, is Nazeri Entema, and she kind of keeps up with the damage that Aura does, and she also has buffs and debuffs that keep up with Nazeri Ainz. She doesn't have an AoE attack, but her buffs and debuffs are equal to slightly weaker than Ainz, but her single target damage is slightly weaker than Aura. So in general, she's like a mix of both units in one. So in my opinion, she's probably the second best unit in the game. I'd rate her above Aura because of the versatility she has. But Nazeri Ainz is going to be the best for a long time. So quick rundown. Cocytus, Cerberus, Shaltir, Neuronus, Demiurge, Albedo, Aura, Nazeri Mare, and possibly Mars Ainz I would skip on investing in. Lakios, Pandora, Evil Eye, Ainz, and Mare, I would invest in. And if you have Nazeri Aura, that is a must invest in. That is going to last you forever, and it is one of the best, if not the best unit in the game. Well, not the best, but one of the best units in the game for a very, very, very long time. So yeah, overall that's how the tier list runs and how it will kind of go. If you're looking at this tier list, probably should have said it at the start, but it does go from left to right. So we would rate Cerberus over Cocytus, Albedo over Demiurge, and so on. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully this video makes sense. Obviously this video is all opinionated. You can decide what you want. Like, you might love Shout here because of the power paralysis, but just in general, this is kind of roughly what it should look like. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully it helps. And take care and peace out.